Now I'm very excited to bring back a college basketball betting guru in Justin Perri from Shot Quality Bets. You can follow Justin on X at Justin Perri8. Justin, my man, here we are. It's cold over there. It's a little cold in Arizona. How are things doing in the Big Apple?
Look, I don't think you get to complain over there out in Arizona. It is a great time to be in New York if you love the cold. It helps me because I have all the more reason to hang out inside, watch a little college basketball, and cut it up and, talk some hoop, man. I'm excited to be here. Thank you again for having me on the show. It has been a good 6-7 months, but we're back. I remember last time we were previewing some March Madness, some conference tournaments. So always good to be doing some conference season ball already. It feels like, the non-con season flew by, but I mean, we got a great slate coming up this weekend. Every single week, it seems like we get great matchups every single day. College basketball is in a great place, and it's been a lot of fun to be gambling on it.
It really is, man. And March Madness completely around the corner, but we went through November and December of non-con. It's funny. I look at November as preseason almost. It
Yeah.
just kind of feels like preseason college basketball. It's hard to take data from there. I still do sometimes, but I know what you're saying. I think college basketball is in great shape right now, and I think everyone's going to be pivoting quite soon, especially that this college football stuff it's being drawn on a little bit longer, but people are focusing now on college basketball. I think that's where the money's going to be made because there's still a ton of value out there in the market. There's 364 teams. There is certainly a hell of a lot of fun that we can have. So before we get into some of that, what's going on over at Shot Quality Bets, my man? I saw the site all last 2 months. It looks beautiful, a little bit revamped, and nicely put together.
Yeah, for sure. We've, we had a few little developments over the last year or so, really focusing a lot more on Shot Quality Live and the Score Center, which is our main hub for where you can watch games, see past results, and quickly, get into future matchup previews, which we've essentially crafted so that you can navigate quickly to find team stats based on our expected location-based statistics. So if you're unfamiliar with what we do over at Shot Quality, everything is based off of the way in which a player takes the shot or develops the shot and how open they are, and essentially, I guess, how good they are at taking the look, right? So if you have a player who is not very good off the dribble, taking a off the dribble three, you should be rewarded less than, say, a player who's very good at taking the. It's very simple. It's obviously we're not reinventing the wheel. We're just sort of putting it all together so that what you see in the game where, maybe a bad shot goes down and you're like, isn't that the center who's never hit a shot before? It happens. I can't tell you how often it happens. And the opposite, right? How often does the best player on the team get a clean, open look from three, and you have a 4.5 and they're down 5, and he gets that extra dribble, he looks, he lines it up at the basket, and for some reason he still misses like the best shot he could ever get. That type of stuff is all too common, and we try to cut through that noise. I would say it impacts like 40% of games, 35% of games, to a point that the result can be quantifiably different for betting, for the money lines, for who actually gets to go home and say they won. It's a hectic and chaotic sport, and everyone who bets it knows that. So what we've done is created Shot Quality Live, which allows for the expected scores to be processed in the minute. So as the shots are taken, within about 30-45 seconds, the interface updates and you get told what that shot was worth and how many points the team is now expected to have alongside how many they actually have. And from there, we have a good time. We bet it. We essentially trust shot quality to be more correct than the actual score. And we have a lot of fun just enjoying some live betting, which has become the mainstay of most of our content. We do SQ Live Betcast 3 times a week, and it's just 45 minutes of live betting craziness. There's no other word for it.
It is craziness, man, and it's a great site, and it just takes
Thank you.
all the important things, Justin, and really brings it into one little area where we can just dissect it, and it dissects it for you. That's what's great about it. I also love the fact that it's different than the other ones. You know, there's a lot of the same efficiency sites out there, but shot quality is something special. They do something wonderful. So make sure you guys check out shot quality as soon as you can. You'll get an edge by doing it. Let's talk a little bit about college basketball now, man. You know, I look at just a day or two ago, there's no more undefeated teams, Justin. It's like January 9th right now, and here we are. It felt like quick, but what are your thoughts of the competitive landscape going on thus far in
Yeah, well, I
college
mean,
basketball?
we lost our final undefeated team in a blaze of glory, unlike any other, with Tennessee unable to surpass a point per minute in Gainesville. Not pretty. Um, but look, that's how it goes, right? Like, this team's been running so hot. You're not in the non-con anymore. You don't need to really be beating up on every team by 40. They did it. They went to the Bahamas. I watched them beat Baylor, who is a very good team. Baylor develops incredibly good shots. Baylor is the number one team in net adjusted shot quality at this very moment. So beating Baylor is no small feat. We saw just how good they looked in their last game over Cincinnati, who was like ranked, right? They just dominated them at
Yeah.
home.
Yes.
So yeah, again, Tennessee's looked great. The competitive landscape. I mean, I am like thrilled. I don't really actually bet too much at the top of the landscape. I don't know if you're very different, but I've always done better in the mid majors and the low majors. There's less liquidity, there's less accuracy, there's more room for me to not be perfect, and there's just more edges to be had. But I am also a fan, along with a gambler, better, and yeah, man, yeah, Auburn, Gonzaga, Duke, Marquette, Baylor, Louisville, Alabama, Kentucky, Houston, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Iowa State, Florida, Illinois, North Carolina, Purdue. I mean, though that's like my top 15, 20 right
The Johnnies, man, too. Come on, don't forget the Johnnies this
there.
year.
Look, they look good. They do. They look hyper athletic. I am holding a 50-1 ticket. I put the $100 down because I'm in New York, so like you can't go to any of the recreational books and get a line. And then if you go to the offshores, you're just not going to get anything close to what you could. I think I was
Yes.
being offered like 35-1, 40-1. Maybe I could find like a 42, but I found a 50 out in the Bahamas. So I was sitting at the casino, about to go watch them play Virginia in that consolation game after the 1-point double OT loss on the Roach 3 at the buzzer. He ran ran to celebrate that shot. He ran 5 feet in front of me. I was sitting on the floor, and
That's
it was
awesome. You're
crazy.
there.
Oh,
That's so fun.
one of the best. That was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. If you
That sounds like it.
I mean, if you have the means to get out there and go to the Baja Mar tournament, you don't need the floor seat, man, because there's only 5 rows of seating. It's literally, you're watching St. John's Baylor in a ballroom that is smaller than a high school gym. Smaller than a high school gym.
Yeah.
Like intimate, personal, so cool, so worth it. And then, of course, Baja Mar has done a great job absolutely turning that hotel into a mini tropical Vegas. So a lot of fun. I'll probably be back. Big shout out to my friends over there who made that all possible. But yeah, man, I mean, college basketball is in a beautiful spot. I think this is going to be
Yeah.
one of, if not the most fun March Madnesses we've ever had. It just keeps getting better. The quality of the players is incredible. I mean, Janai Broom and Cooper Flagg are both having 2 of the best seasons we have seen since. I mean, Zach Edey had us spoiled last year because we're like, oh, well, someone else is this good. No, before Zach Edey and Broom and Flagg, 3 players of this quality in the last 2 years. It hadn't been since like Frank Kaminsky that someone had been this
Frank the
dominant in
Tank,
college.
baby. I love it.
Literally
I love how
almost
you're
a decade.
playing to your crowd. I like it.
Oh, well, that's the look. Data doesn't lie, man. It has nothing to do with the crowd. It's just the truth, and we are so lucky to have these teams at the top this year. Auburn and Duke clearly both in the top 5 of any self-respecting ranking right now. And then, I think there's a lot of other really great stars. I really am a fan of VJ Edgecombe. I think he's great. Him and Omer together are just a defensive powerhouse, and I think there's room for Omer to improve on Baylor. You talk about Cam Jones over on Marquette, one of the best guards in the country, absolutely doing everything for them, and is going to be a player that steamrolls his way to the Big East final in March, and then makes noise coming out of the Eastern region for sure. Very likely a 2 seed, 3 seed at worst at this point. Going to be fun for the Big East to have that type of representation. Alabama looks like an analytical powerhouse again, a little bit maybe less defensively strong, but still the top team in the top 15 for shot quality in terms of leading rim and 3 rate. So again, just an analytical darling playing math ball, and it's working. They are 13-2 in D1 games, 11-4 expectations. So they are going above and beyond what even shot quality expects because they're just so smart. And then the antithesis is Houston. They only have 4 teams in all of Division I who take more mid-range shots than Houston, but yet they are a bona fide top 10 team in the nation, top 5 defense. The way that the bracket is drawn up come Selection Sunday is going to be just as important in determining who makes the Final Four as any other on-court factor, because it's just, if the right team meets the wrong team, it's just a dark alley scenario and you don't know who's going to come out, even if the efficiency models think one team is 5 leagues higher necessarily. Absolutely. We've seen it all the time. How, sometimes it's just the right player. Sometimes it's just the right day of the week. Sometimes it's JP Pegues in the corner. And then Virginia, no, but yeah, we're going to get magic in March. You can bet on that.
I love how you mentioned you do bet mostly on the smaller conferences. It's funny, you look at some of these ranked players. You got Dwayne Coromora from Lemoyne. He's got a 77.5 effective field goal percentage. Now, part of that was the schedule, let's face it. But there's some guys out there and some diamonds in the rough that's going to be really fun to watch during their conference championship games. And I love the fact that you focus on those smaller sites, because that's perfect for shot quality bets. These smaller conferences, they're finding you an edge because they take every single stat that they do from the bigger schools, just like they take every single stat that they do from the smaller schools. So these teams in these games that the line makers have a mistake put out on is much easier sniffed out, and the market's not going to move nearly as quickly as some of these big games. So great stuff on that one, Justin.
Sometimes they move much more quickly when we play on them.
Yes,
like zip, boom, 3 points. But no, they definitely, they're more likely to, I think what it really comes down to is you sort of start to learn the nature of how these lines are crafted, their life cycles, where they come from, how allegiant to Ken Pom they are, who really does still to this day set most of these lines. And then there's adjustments that are made case to case, or you're seeing a lot of adjustments right now being made, just this week, conference home teams. Getting 2-3 points in some spots, especially on small spreads. So Ken Pom coming in at a plus, a road favorite, -1, -2, you're going to see that the home Ken Pom dog is going to actually open -1, -2, right? The home team is just getting that right now because nobody's
getting extra points. They're getting extra points
over what the models actually expect, because everyone's underperforming on the road. So yeah,
Massively.
it's that leads to I guess more errors on the mid-major and low majors when these lines open, and errors in the nicest way possible, badly priced lines, errant lines that should be 2 to 3 points in one way or the other that I will bet on. Not like drastically totally incorrect. Sometimes that happens. I got a big one today. I mean, I got like a 6 point difference in the market today. We'll see how that goes. But it's just, you have to sort of understand that, yeah, the power conferences, you're not going to see huge moves unless there's like real news. Very, very respected sharp bettors hitting markets, maybe off of injuries that will move lines in like a UNC Kansas type of scenario. But other than that, these models are very good at those games that are, closer to the pros, that have better talent, maybe a little bit less variability, right? And maybe a little bit less matchup dependent. So
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know. That's why I love it, because of course you have 100 games to choose from, and you can try to find the ones that get swept under the rug, and where the bookmakers maybe will let you take a little bit. I'm no $5,000 per bet guy. I play like 20 bets a day, small
yeah.
units.
You're a high volume guy. Yeah, I'm
Right.
more of a higher volume guy too. Some
Right.
of my good
I
friends
like
are
to spread out the
those big
edge,
unit guys.
especially
And
in college, and I believe that it eliminates that variance that you can have when you're, if you only bet one game a day and you have a 3-day cold streak, it's very different, or a 3-game cold streak, right? Like I bet 20 games. I can have a 3-game cold streak twice in an afternoon, right? Like where things don't go my way, but then I see the other side of that a lot more immediately too, and it just creates a faster, bigger sample sizes, faster arrival at true result. It's just a basic tenet. So if you if you have an edge, and you do not try to apply it everywhere you can, you don't know if you truly have it to the same extent I do.
yeah, and that's why Shot Quality is a great site, because it's giving you the edges right there. And I get that. That is wonderful. Then you
We
can use
like to
your
think so. We like to think so.
you use your
It has definitely been a good year. We do keep track of things behind the scenes. And I joined. This is my third full year. I used Shot Quality independently the year before, so 4 years now using SQ. Um, I would say that last year was our only real down year. And I think you could probably feel it across the sharp community a little bit in college basketball. A lot of very smart people who use the data had worse years than normal, myself included. A couple of my constituents included, people I know who rely on the data included, who are very sharp and have won for years. Last year was kind of tough.
yeah.
We
Last year
have
was a tough
absolutely
year.
bounded back. We had a great December, a little tough here in January to open in the conference schedule, but I think that's pretty normal, as the kinks sort of work themselves out. But very excited. Always goes very well when we get into late February. March is really our time to shine.
Absolutely, and that's where people place most of their bets, is when the data takes time to mature, and then once it comes in and
Yeah,
matures is when it really
I think, right,
comes to
and I think
fruition.
it takes less time for Shot Quality to mature than other data types because of the way it works. Like, we're more predictive faster. But you're right in the sense that, a lot of very sharp people look at the non-con and the conference schedule as very different things. And I do think that how a team performs, especially when you go from like playing nobodies and buy games into having to face other Power 5 schools, yeah, you might need 3 or 4 games to let SQ take a peek at how it's going, and not really judge a team based on how they looked in mid-December when they're playing even just 3 weeks later, because it's just a very, very different beast. And there's more seriousness in terms of the way rotations are played, and again, the game stops becoming about, can we win this by 20, which changes the demeanor of players. It becomes, we need to actually just get a dub today.
That's a perfect
And
segue, Justin, to buy low, sell
bang
high,
bang.
because
Yeah, perfect.
you just messaged, or you just mentioned, I should say, where a lot of these teams had an easier non-conference, and they can sometimes look great in the non-con.
Yeah.
I want to say maybe, well, it was a team last year. I'm trying to think. Was it Florida State? There was a team that blew away a lot of teams. Indiana always does this. Indiana blows away teams in the non-con, and then they get the conference play. They don't even get to 500. So
Yeah,
make sure you look at that.
it's
I think
very
that's a
normal.
great point. And let's get into buy low, sell high. And I got a couple. I'm going to give you. I like. First of all, you mentioned number one on shot quality, Baylor. I still think is a little bit buy low, ranked like 19th
Oh
at
yeah,
10. I think they're a top 10 team. I think they're right in the brink there, and they're just very good rim and three rate, very athletic team. They have some really good transfers that came in over the off season. So a couple guys from Duke and everything. That I'm really high on Baylor, and I think Rutgers a little bit is still undervalued. They had a tough one against Wisconsin at home. That was expected for me. Dylan Harper was not healthy yet. He just played 15 minutes, but he missed the last game. Dylan Harper's now getting healthier, and Ace Bailey's getting his, really looking hot. He's going to be a lottery pick, right? So we know that. But Ace Bailey is a stud, one of the top 5-star draft recruits for Rutgers, which was awesome. And so I kind of like those two, and maybe St. Louis. I think I like what they did against St. Bonaventure last night, and they're kind of starting to heat up a little bit. They covered too. They won by 5, and St. Bonnie was the best covering team last year. So you remember, or not last year, I would say last 2 months, really, they're the best covering team. They're also
they've been hot. I think like 93% cover rate to open the season or something.
Absolutely, and Robbie Avila, if everyone remembers, and you're just getting into college basketball, he played for Indiana State last year. Remember how good Indiana State was? Now Robbie Avila plays over at St. Louis, and they have some pretty good players there with Gibson Jimerson and a couple other. So St. Louis is another buy low for me.
I like it. A couple on our list. Baylor, you mentioned. Definitely, I thought, we just probably reached the local low prior to their win over Cincinnati, coming off of that absolute 19-point loss at Iowa State. That wasn't great. So that's probably was their low point. That's probably when you should have gotten on them to make the Final Four, which you can still get at a pretty good 16-1. We'll talk about that later, I think, for beer bets. But another one, and this is the same thing to me, right? Because again, it's the same stuff. Louisville sits really high on the shot quality rankings, both offensively and defensively. We love how many threes they take, and it's boring. Everyone complains on Twitter. Oh, the NBA, there's too many threes. Sure, fine, but it is the most valuable shot in basketball. If you can make it, you should take it. If you want to be betting on teams that win, you should be betting on teams that take threes, even if they live and die by it. It's just, again, it is just do the simple math, right? A 3 shot at 33% gives you the same expected value of a shot at the rim that makes it at 50%. So, right, and it goes up quick. If you can make your threes at 40% of the time, that's 1.2 points per shot. You have to get up to 60% at the rim to do that. And 60% of the rim is no promise. Layups are maybe better than that. But you have to get there. You have to do so successfully. And there is something that is a part of this whole equation of getting the shot up is worth something, and trying to get into the rim can oftentimes lead to not getting that shot, possession, turnover, good defense. I don't know. I like teams engineered for the 3, and Louisville is engineered for the 3. It means they can shoot. It means they can make free throws. It means they can get back into games. It means they can sustain leads. Usually shooting in a game defined by shooting is important. Louisville can shoot.
Chucky Hepburn, man, great on the Badgers last couple of years. And Louisville was built by transfers. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that was one of my possible ones, my buy low. They built their team based upon really talented transfers, like Keishan Pryor. He kind of came in. Another guy from BYU, Noah Waterman. He comes in as a senior.
Very good pickup.
And it takes a little time to gel, but now look what they're doing. They're beating Clemson by 10 points. They went to Virginia, beat them by 20 points. They beat North Carolina at home. They have 2 away games here, but they already proved they could win on the road against Florida State and against Virginia. And they did okay beating Indiana and West Virginia back in the early or late November, but early in the season. So yeah, this is a team that I think is going to be very dangerous, and I think they're just going to keep getting better and better. So I love that. Let's go to sell high, and
Sure.
I have a few sell high. Now I'm going to say Houston, but only because they're number 1 or 2, dude. Look,
Okay.
like I'm sorry. What's their best win? What's their best win, Justin?
You're right. I understand.
Houston. Their best win is Butler. Yeah, their best win.
Yeah,
But,
I guess technically
they
BYU
should be 10. They
have a
should be
better
9
win.
or 10. I just think Houston should be 9 or 10, not 1 or 2 or 3. That's the difference. It's a tough one to get to, but no Jamal Shed. You remember how important Shed was to that team last year?
Yeah, of course.
And whenever they faced a top 30 opponent, they lost to San Diego State, they lost to Alabama. No, don't grant it was overtime in neutral courts. Auburn is definitely forgivable, but and they're staying in high because they're blowing out the smaller teams. I think it's just going to get a little tougher for them coming into conference play. Now, the good thing for them is they get kind of the bottom of the conference. They get Kansas State, West Virginia, UCF, Utah, and then finally they're going to hit Kansas, and where they have a really brutal finish. So be careful fading them. I think that they're one of the worst away teams. So that's my first one. The other one I have for sell high is Miami. I watched a little bit of that last night. I think they're done.
Is it high still? I mean, can you sell it all? Anyone want to
buy? I think they should be ranked in the 200s. Okay, I think the spreads are going to be wrong still. I think they quit. No Larinaga, he quit on the. He left them.
Yeah,
dude. This Miami team feels like they are freaking done. Put a fork in them. They didn't show any effort, man.
Yeah.
So it's like this. If Larinaga was there, it'd be different. But I just think, it's funny. You and that's a great question you bring up. It's like, dude, they're already in the 100s, but dude, I'm sorry, they quit. And so I think some of this is predicting that, Justin.
I agree. I do agree. For me, sell highs are tough. Let's see. I've been selling on Cincinnati. I'll tell you that much. I've been selling on them. I don't know if you can anymore, but back-to-back big sell spots. I took Arizona and I took Baylor this week. It was glorious. They are 55th in shot quality, not a top 20 team. Sorry. Who else? Dayton was a bit of a sell high. You saw how that went this week. They're 50th in shot quality, not a top 30 team. Again, sorry.
Lost outright to UMass.
It's just that hard to win in the A10 on the road. Another one, Pittsburgh, top 30 Ken Palm, top 25. No, come on, no.
I'm with you. I'm with you totally.
Sell high. Don't take enough threes. A little lucky. Defense, they're top 50, top 40 at best. But yeah, another sell high. Maybe I don't know where most people have Memphis at right now, but yeah, we have them around 40. They're at 30 in Ken Palm, and then I guess, not too many others. Purdue is pretty low for us, but they're low. No, that's pretty fair. I think Illinois is a little bit of a sell high for us.
Probably a little high.
They're a little high. We have them a little bit closer at 15 there. That's not crazy, but it is the end of the distribution, so it does kind of get impressive very quickly over there. Teams that are higher up over at KP that we don't necessarily agree with, I feel like, how do we feel about Maryland? Let's see. Pretty in line. Not too much else, honestly, to tell you the truth. Maybe a little bit lower on St. Mary's. We have them at 51 versus Ken Palm. Going to have them at like 35. But yeah, other than that, pretty in line, pretty in lockstep. You want to know a crazy buy low still that we didn't talk about? A mid-major that is in the top 30 for shot quality this year. Top 25 as of this morning in shot quality. A mid-major. And they are, I think, where are they right now for Ken Palm? They're pretty high in Ken Palm too, But I mean, this is very different. They're 66th in Ken Palm, 23rd in shot quality. I'm talking about the UC San Diego Tritons. Man, this team, I don't know if you've watched them.
Not much.
Just active hands. Always, they shoot threes on 50% of their shots.
Wow. 49.2.
They do not turn the ball over. They turn the ball over on just 14% of possessions, and they turn you over on 25% of possessions, the fourth best rate in the league. All right. They play such good defense that their defensive rebounding is top 40 in the league. They're top 50 in efficiency in terms of shooting. Their half court offense is top 20 in expected possessions, but they're so good out of those turnovers that they're running it at the 257th most because they're in transition so much, and they're scoring 1.4 points per possession in transition. So they're scary, and they can do it in isolation if you force them to. They can hit the mid-range, third best in the nation in expected points in both of those last-ditch need-a-bucket type shots. Like, they're going to go up against anyone, and they're going to be able to get a bucket if they need it, and they're going to shoot from three well if you give them space, and they're not going to waste possessions. So even if you can go and bully them down low and get a couple buckets against them for the size, if you turn it over, that basically doesn't count because they're just going to bomb you with high efficiency shots, and they are a sleeper to make the Sweet 16 that maybe shouldn't be.
UC San Diego, the nation's longest active win streak of 11
Correct.
in a row, hasn't lost in Seattle back at November.
And that game was crazy. I cannot believe that they lost that game.
Well, you know, some teams any team can beat anybody because somebody can get hot. We talk about it all the time, and that's probably just what happened. But hey, man, I'm glad you picked this game because we're going to talk about a big game coming up this Saturday. Let's get into some game. Well, first, before you mentioned Memphis, what sucks about Memphis and St. Mary's usually they don't play anybody. St. Mary's just has Gonzaga, but you know Memphis's toughest game. It's against Florida Atlantic, who ranks 97th now on Ken Palm. The rest of them are like in the 200s and 170s. The whole rest of Memphis's schedule is just super easy. But guess what? They're going to lose a game. They're going to lose a game. We just got to sniff it out. So I
took like plus 150 on them to win the conference preseason, which was like a gift. I think they're like minus 170 now. But I don't feel great.
Maybe at Temple. Maybe we'll fade them at Temple on next week Thursday.
Ooh,
so
yeah.
We'll circle.
That'll be a tough spot for them. Maybe I'll go down. Maybe I'll go down to Philly for that. That'd be cool.
There you go. That'd be awesome. I'd love to see that. Make sure you tweet it out if you do, my friend.
I'm not going to tweet. Come on.
So true. So true. Let's get into some games, dude. Let's get some Friday games. Friday is not a huge slate. It never usually is. Obviously, the Metro Atlantic usually rules Fridays with sometimes a little bit of
my favorite conference.
Yeah. Well, right. You can go to all the games pretty much.
Well, Marist a little far. Some of them are a little far away, but pretty good.
Niagara's a little far.
It's New York's conference. You got a good distribution. You can get over to St. Peter's. You can go up to Manhattan. You can get out to Iona. There's plenty of action here in the MAC. But again, Quinnipiac, the Buffalo schools are far. But
yes,
it's fun. It's fun.
But we're not going to talk about that because we're going to talk about UCLA versus Maryland first. And
sure.
I was going to sell high on UCLA, but I wanted to use them here too. So they're another one I think I sell high. If you look at shot quality, UCLA has a terrible rim and three rate, ranking 345th in the nation in rim and three rate. UCLA. I don't like those mid-range shots. You know that. We talked about it already.
They have benefits, but yeah.
Maryland, it depends upon your offense too, right? We can get into all that. But Maryland has a huge near proximity advantage. They're 20th on offense in some of the sites, and their three-point advantage adjusted for the average team is really high. I think that's where they're going to get UCLA. And I know UCLA is also in a bad spot because UCLA had that rough loss against Michigan, which was one of those overinflated home court advantages because I grabbed Michigan plus 3.5 and people took it at plus 3 too. Yep. That's a great example of an overinflated home court advantage that you've seen in the marketplace. But even though UCLA lost 2 in a row, Maryland is coming off 2 losses in a row, a tough one at Washington, which is just a bad travel spot, at Oregon
Terrible.
too, which Oregon's a decent team. I think they're going to get into their home court, very high rating type of home court team in Maryland. I'm taking Maryland -5, 6, probably all the way up to -7.
All right, I'm with you. Are lines out for that one yet? Do we have a line?
No. Well, it should be on like an hour.
Yeah, they'll come out soon. I'm checking now.
A couple
Yeah,
sites might have them.
nothing out yet. But that's okay. It probably, if I had to guess, based off what I've been seeing, you're gonna get Maryland -5, 5.5.
That's what I guess too. I'm
Maybe
just saying that
6.
you're going to get the home court movement from the market that pushes it up, and that's why I say up to -7. But I think this is another one that Maryland kind of gets off the mat themselves and takes care
Yeah,
of a
expected
team
to beat Oregon, coming off of an expected win, lost by 4, expected to win by 14, didn't cover, pushed the Washington. Oh no, were they favored against Washington on the road?
Yes, they're definitely favored by a little bit against
I'm
Washington.
just checking out how was that they were favored as road, so they covered the 4.5 by the hook at Oregon as a dog after being favorites at Washington and losing outright. So now they're coming home, where they've played very well. They are very good at home. They've always been very good at home. The defense did not look great, right? This is the 8th rated defense in shot quality for Maryland, and they allowed 83 points. It was their first time allowing more than 75 points since, they hadn't since like Marquette. Marquette scored 78 on them. So they were expected to allow 69. I expect the defense to absolutely lock right back into shape. We haven't really seen them play. Oh, yeah, we did. We saw them play Ohio State at home already this season. 59 points allowed on 73 expected. So we saw them play Villanova, 75 points allowed on 76 expected. We've seen how Villanova's performing now. We know that's a pretty good performance for Maryland's defense. Same thing with allowing 78 to Marquette in the non-con at home. So I'm pretty much in on the Maryland defense here. I would expect a under. Let's go with an under. Both these teams are going to play some really good defense. If this really opens up at the 140 line Ken Palm has, yeah, I'm assuming it opens at 138.5. Just assuming that UCLA is going to get a little bit of a decrease, that 1.5 points from the home part anyway, but still 138.5. You can sign me up for that most likely.
I like the under as well. You remember UCLA ranked 353 in adjusted tempo, and they're 240. But you have to remember the Big Ten slows it down when they play each other. That's just the way it is. They look way faster than they were. I mean, look at Maryland right now. They're 15th in like average possession length, but last year, because of the Big Ten schedule, and after all, just a 246th in average possession length. So the unders, look for Big Ten unders as well. So I'm with you on that one. Let's move into Saturday then. And you picked a great game, and maybe some hints from what you're saying earlier. We have Louisville versus Pitt, and I'm just projecting Pitt by 5. I think that's fair from where they're ranked in the public sites. They're ranked, believe it or not, Louisville's ranked below Pitt by a decent amount of spots. The total, I'm saying 150. Justin, what do you have for us in this?
This is the Louisville game. I'm definitely looking at Louisville. Again, this is a team that is still underrated. You can still get valuable points against the market that you probably should just say thank you. Pittsburgh is a team that I'm low on. Louisville, a team that I'm high on. You're taking a 12-3 team at home. You're going to get that cushion, right? So you're going to get that extra little 1.5 points. You're going to want it. I don't like the half-court offense of Pittsburgh. I do not like how they defend a lot of their shots at the end of the clock. I don't think it's very pretty. I faded them against Duke. I faded them against Stanford. I faded them against California. And the market just keeps giving me this value because The Cal game, they won by 8. They were minus 13. The Stanford game, they won by 15. They were minus 17. The Duke game was finally, they get their faces beat in, but on the road, maybe a little bit of a pass at Cameron Indoor. The market's not going to really crucify you for that. But the wins against Stanford and California at home were expected to be much closer. A loss expected to Cal and a 3-point win expected over Stanford. What that says to me is that this team really just got lucky that a couple of West Coast California teams that never really traveled out to gosh darn Pittsburgh to play basketball probably did not exactly take well to the program's first trip out east. And that's fine. We're seeing that all across the nation with these new teams in these new places. Only a few of the most storied programs are traveling well to new destinations, a la Michigan, a la maybe who had a good travel day. I can't even remember. It's so rare. But I would assume the same thing kind of goes here. Because, well, not same thing goes, but what's going to happen is that you're getting a propped up Pittsburgh team based off of luck of their opponents just not playing well. And maybe it's predictable luck. Maybe you could have said, okay, yeah, their opponents aren't going to really perform to their expectations. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh's a little overrated, and I think Louisville's a little underrated. I will 100% have a play on Pittsburgh. It barely matters the line. Because there's very few lines that could be released here that I would look at and say that is too much for me to get on Louisville. They're expected to be +5. I expect Louisville to go in there and compete. I would probably right now make it +1 or a pick 'em. And there's no way this thing is going to open up under +3. So I will be on this for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Pittsburgh; they beat Ohio State's best team on the road. Oh, by the way, Ohio State would be a sell-high team for me too. I should have mentioned that. That was their best road win, but they lost to Wisconsin on a neutral field by 6 points. That's understandable, but they got blown away by Mississippi State this year. And the rest of their games, they haven't played anybody. You're like you said, the strength of the schedule is massive, and once they finally face Duke, they get blown away. I think they're a little shell shocked probably after that game too. They're never that good. Louisville's going to keep it close. And what have you done for me lately? Louisville's doing pretty good. Like, what have you done for me lately? They're beating teams like North Carolina. They're beating teams like Virginia on the road, like I said before. And
I mean, the only word I have is that I've been playing Louisville for the last couple of weeks and they've been winning. And I've been fading Pittsburgh for the last couple of weeks. And I've been waiting. So obviously they're going to meet, and I'm gonna lose all my money. So.
Well, there you go, man. Louisville. I'll tell you this: Louisville is not good against the spread because I just think they're one of those teams that took time to gel. Pittsburgh's only around 500 themselves, so it's not that different.
Yeah, minutes continuity is a big deal for sure.
Yeah. Let's move on to the next game, and we have Florida versus Arkansas. I'm predicting Arkansas is going to be +3.5 because the efficiency sites have it more like 5, but that's not going to happen with Calipari. I think the total is going to be about 155, which a lot of them have about 153, 154. So I'm just going to tell you right now that I'm going to take this over all the way up to 160. Florida is coming off that big win in defensive showing at home against Tennessee. That was their freaking Super Bowl so far of the year, beating the top undefeated team. And, they weren't top on the efficiency sites, maybe in the AP poll. But Arkansas is coming off a tough loss too. And, Ole Miss took care of them. They control the possessions. Arkansas is not going to want that to happen again. Both teams play very fast. Arkansas is going to start playing faster, even though they rank 60th in average possession length, which is in the top 20%, while Florida ranks 21st. Florida plays some fast ball. Just because they played some good defense, throws you off a little bit. But, dude, Arkansas is
a lot of possessions and essentially they play a volume game the same way I do. They trust their offense and they trust their defense. And like, all right, we're going to be better than you on both sides of the ball, so we're just going to up the tempo and trust that we can beat you on both sides. We definitely can beat you on offense, and good luck trying to keep up.
I think Florida's D takes the day off after that well-rewarded and deserved win. It's going to be an over game for me. I think it's going to go way into this 160s, if not higher. I'm going to take the over 155, and it's going to be one of my better plays.
I like that a lot. The defense is
Right.
definitely overperforming.
Good
I haven't
stuff.
really, I haven't been the biggest totals guy, but makes sense. Tempo's there, the pace is there, the performance is there. You have a top 10 offense with a bad defense. My only worry is that Arkansas is pretty decent defensively, but let me tell you, man, they cannot close out on a shooter. They're
And
great
they
at the
got to
rim,
keep up with Florida. They got to keep up with Florida,
right?
and they're in a desperate need to shoot
They
better
they
after
somehow
3
Arkansas
losses in a row.
somehow yeah, Arkansas somehow has the 26th best shot quality defense, but 323rd and 312th at defending catch and shoot and off the dribble threes.
Yep.
How's that
That's
possible? I don't even know.
just really skilled offense.
Well,
Good
what it
players.
really is that they chase you off the line. So only like 24% of shots against Arkansas come from the 3-point line, which is very low. But the fact of the matter is that when you are getting that shot, they're not closing you out. It's a good look. So
Yeah.
if they have a good 3-point shooting day, if Florida has a good 3-point shooting day, yeah, they could probably make 15 threes. They might
Absolutely.
take 35.
Florida shoots a decent amount of threes. 42.5% of their shots are 3-pointers, so they're definitely going to put them up.
35 feels.
But number 3 in offensive rebounding. They're number 3 in offensive rebounding, so they're shooting and getting the board and putting it back in. That's what they're really doing in Florida, and I love that for overs. And Arkansas, just Calipari type team. They're just going to run and run and run, and they don't. They're glad to play fast basketball. Right. Let's move on to the next game, and we have a fun one here because you kind of talked about UC San Diego. And what's funny is that both UC Urban and UC San Diego both played tonight. So we don't know what's going to happen. I'm guessing they both win. They're both very good teams. I'm predicting UC San Diego is going to be a 2-point favorite. Maybe it moves up to 3, but this is a smaller conference too. So I'm not sure how quick that's going to be. Total 140. Is that fair, Justin? And what are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, Big West is usually out pretty early. It's mid-major. It's not really like low major at this point. I mean, you have 2 teams right now that are going to, right as of this recording, 65 and 66 in KenPom in a conference. I mean, that's really good. That you're talking, the Big West is a top half conference, and like they're almost an average net positive rating. Only 11 conferences. This is the only. They are doing well. Fullerton is holding them back for sure. It's very ugly for Fullerton right now.
Right.
But Fullerton starts to have a few more good games, which I think they will. This conference could end up as a net positive in terms of efficiency rating this year, which is really impressive because they were not so long ago. Like, this was the Big West. It was like, there was some years where this conference was abysmal. But moving on up, good for them. UC San Diego is the team for me.
All right.
It's just like, I understand Irvine's defense is one of the best in the nation, but they haven't played too many teams. San Diego doing everything you want to see. Shot quality lower on Irvine, has them around top 100, top 90. Like we were saying, San Diego, top 25 team for shot quality. Not saying they are a top 25 team in terms of basketball, but they are a top 25 teams in terms of developing good looks. So I like that. That travels. That will do well against this UC Irvine team. You'll get a nice -3.5 point line for the home team, maybe 2.5 because they're close rivals. It should be 5.5, 6.
All right.
Let's go Tritons. Let's go.
I'll lay the 2. I'll lay the 2 with you. We'll make that an official podcast play as well. Going with Maryland -6, Florida, Arkansas over, Louisville, and UC San Diego -2. Let's move to the final game that we're going to talk about. Might do a little quick hodgepodge. Kansas versus Cincinnati. I'm going to say pick 'em. Okay. Kansas gets a ton of respect. I think that's fair. I think the market's going to like Cincinnati a little bit too because they're
coming off the back-to-back losses.
Bounce back spot 136. But here's what I like. I think Kansas is inconsistent. How about that game against ASU? They're losing at half. to ASU at home at the Fog. And then ASU scores what? Total 8 points, like the second half. It's like the whole second half they could score, lose by 20. So
Right.
Kansas gets the cover, but I mean, very inconsistent team is what I see, and that's why I always thought about Hunter Dickinson. But you know, one day they're beating Duke, and the other they're losing to West Virginia and Missouri. You know, it's just really
Literally.
weird with them. And I think this is the spot for flat. Cincinnati needs to win, but they got two guys that are 6'11" and 7 foot with Page and Aziz. And I think that's how they get the W because they can stop the inside. It's going to be Kansas just popping up a lot of road threes, which we like to say, and that's not a good place to have to force yourself to try to be in a game. This is a win for Cincinnati. I'm hoping that I don't have to lay past 2 for this, but I think it's going to be fair at pick 'em. And A plus money, I think you should grab it right away. So let's do Cincinnati.
Okay. I might disagree with you. I'm not sure. I got to see what that line comes out as. If I'm getting too much Kansas, I think I'm going to have to stick to my guns. Where I was saying Cincinnati remains overrated. You know, you're going to get that spot tax. The market's going to want to bet Cincinnati off these losses. I think you keep fading them. Team went 7-11 in Big 12 last year, and the conference got better, and they started hot. And then it's just hard to sustain. So we'll see. That's an interesting matchup, though, for sure. This should be a spot I think Kansas can probably at least keep it close. So I'll take anything plus money with Kansas.
All right. Well, that's interesting. We got a little, and that's great.
A little battle.
We love disagreement here. We're just honest people. You know, we're not going to try to agree on things. Kansas, you know, it's funny. Neither team gets to the free throw line. Kansas ranks 362nd in getting to the free throw line, and Cincinnati ranks 342nd. You'd think with all the big men on these teams that they'd be shooting more free throws, but I don't know what the hell it is. I will say Cincinnati is a bad favorite in general because they can't shoot free throws. They do rank 354th in free throw percentage at like 61%, which is just pathetic. I mean, if you give me a day to warm up, Justin, I can shoot 61%, my friend.
I mean, me too. I don't even need a day to warm up. I could go out there cold, and I think I could do that. And I got a bad elbow. Like my playing career got ruined to injury, and like I could still probably compete with that number. I got severe basketball limitations now, and like I tore my ACL, like, broke my arm. Like you know what? No excuse. Come on, let's go. Ball up top.
That's good. This is gonna be a fun game to watch. So a little bit of a respect bet. Let's just say pick them between me and you on this baby. So that's fun to have some disagreement. Let's do a couple quick hodgepodge here before we go. We have a few more minutes. Saturday there's some great Iowa State Texas Tech is going to be so fun. That's going to be like a pick 'em type game scenario as well. Iowa State is much better home team than they are on the road, but they've also done damage on the road. You know, I remember last year I was trying to fade them a few spots, and I did do well, but there's a couple road spots where they did hit. Texas Tech coming off a game that beat me. I took BYU the other day, and Texas Tech beat them on the road. BYU had them the whole game, and then just choked at the end.
I know.
Drove me nuts, man. But we can talk about that.
I will say every day.
Texas Tech is a little inconsistent for me. You know, pace-wise, Iowa State plays fast, but their defense is, you know, very strong. So it makes me wonder about an under in this game. I don't know. You know, this is one I want to see the line before I decide. I mean, if this total is going to be at the 148 or 150 where they say, I'll take it under if that's where it's really going to be at. So it's just going to be a wait and see. Notre Dame Duke, that's not even going to be a game. I know Notre Dame got their guy back in Flag, but I know. Yeah, Duke. I'm not messing with Duke, dude. There's no chance I want to mess with them.
There's no reason to go against them right now. Cooper Flag is just absolutely a monster, and he's doing it mostly on defense, right? So, like, what a guy! He's an exciting player.
Tennessee's going to be a large favorite against Texas. And when I say large, it's going to be about 5-6 points. They're going to be coming, you know, the spot people are going to be like, well, Tennessee got blown out. Maybe we bet on them. And I guess it's funny. You look at like the very novice better, they're just going to bet on Tennessee for being good. And then then there's going to be some bettors that are like, well, it's a spot. But Texas played well against Auburn. They covered against Auburn.
They did.
It's funny. It's interesting to see Tennessee and Auburn on these roads. Auburn's going to South Carolina, man. They're going to be 20-point favorites. It's hard for me to bet South Carolina this year.
Yeah,
I like their
Broom again, another one. Like these players is just it's hard to quantify. Like a lot of it depends on how many minutes an individual player gets, like how involved he is, his specific usage. It's hard to model. It's hard to model those games. So.
And I love Lamont Paris, but man, the way he lost to Alabama at home by 20, a lot of people were on that. There's a short spread. Away at Mississippi State got bounced. You think it's a bounce back spot, but geez, this is Auburn. This is a Final Four type team here, in Auburn. Auburn, has been good. The truth is, though, on the road they haven't been. I'll look at it a little bit more. If I'm getting 20. Maybe, but Ken Palm has it at 15, Haslametric's 20. It's just probably
you're gonna get like 18. You're gonna get like 18 probably.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Another big game, USC at Illinois. USC doesn't really have. This is not the spot I want to fade Illinois. I do want to fade them coming up. I'm not so sure it's against USC. USC lost too many guys last year, and it wasn't Bronny James. It wasn't Bronny James.
I got like hooked on a USC live bet last night. It's just I don't know. It's also a tough year for them as well. I would expect, laying off them is probably the best bet you can make.
You know what a fun game is going to be is Alabama at Texas A&M. That's going to be also really hot. Alabama's playing like. They're looking like a champion, and they were in the Final Four last year, and they have some of the same guys that returned. Alabama, they're creeping back up again. They play fast, and sometimes they can be a little sloppy. They rank 98th in turnover percentage, and that's been their thing. But they also can't hit the three, but they're rebounding well. They're ranking 18th in rebound. They're hitting the two-pointer.
Literally cannot shoot, but getting all their own rebounds. Yeah.
What's funny about Texas A&M is the way I look at them is like when they face another really good rebounding team, because that's what they do. They miss all their freaking shots, and then they rebound it in. They rank 228th on Ken Palm in effective field goal, but they're number one in offensive rebound. So that's what they're constantly trying to do. But Alabama doesn't really rebound great on defense. It's an interesting game. I suppose I would lean Texas A&M, but I'm not sure if I'm going to have the sticks to play it.
That's a tough one for sure. Probably Alabama for me. If I had to choose right now, but even then, like that's by a hair. Best play again. Don't play it. I'm not going to play that. I'll tell you right now. Those big games, I don't play that much.
Right. Sunday, you got some interesting Big Ten ones. Big Ten's going to seems to play a lot on Sunday. Purdue is going to be hosting Nebraska, probably about a 6 or 7 point favorite at least. I might toy with Nebraska a little bit on that one. I think Nebraska is kind of a pretty good team out there, and they're feisty. Northwestern hosting Michigan State's interesting too, because I think Michigan State's going to be favored against Northwestern. So I hope Michigan State blows away the team they're playing. Was it tonight or tomorrow?
Tonight.
Washington. I hope they blow away Washington, and then you get Northwestern on the cheap. They got screwed in that Penn State matchup.
Yeah, they did. But they covered. They covered. Didn't Northwestern cover?
It was
4.5.
Maybe they covered. Maybe no.
I think they definitely covered. They definitely covered whatever an open. It might have closed 3.5.
Okay. Yeah, it was really close to the spread.
I think I covered him that game. I think I won that bet. So
you probably got it early. That was and that's way better. Yeah, no, that's interesting. So that's kind of like our hodgepodge. But let's we have our plays here. Let's move into our beer bet bangers, which we know it's just some beer money for some plus money. Nothing sharp that you say. Once in a while, I'll give something I give out to the clients, but I'm not giving this one out. I'll go first. I'm getting. I'll say I'm not. First of all, I do like that 50-1 look. That's still on DraftKings, by the way, on the Johnnies. So I just checked it. That is at 50-1 on the Johnnies for them to win it all. So that's an interesting one. Obviously, Rick Pitino has been there before, but I'm going to go with Buffalo Bills to win the Super Bowl at 6-1. and I'm going to throw 10, 20 bucks on it just for fun. I'm betting with my heart more. This is a square bet. And you know that Kansas City with those dang receivers they got now, and Marquise Brown and DeAndre Hopkins definitely look a lot better than they have before. And all the running backs are healthy. But I just think it's Josh Allen's year. I mean, he's minus 400 to win the Heisman. I just feel like it's the year of the Bills, and they're finally coming in healthy to something. You know, that's usually don't happen. So I'll take the Bills at 61 for my beer bet banger. What is yours?
I like that. I like that a lot. I'll keep beating my own drum to the same tune. I'll go a couple long shots to make the Final Four. I like both Baylor and Louisville.
Okay.
Those are the teams you talked about already, Justin. Okay, Louisville 25-1 though. Baylor 14-1 to make the Final Four. We're not talking about cutting down the net. We're talking about just almost getting there, and we see it a lot. The Final Four can be the place where the 4 seed, the 5 seed, the 3 seed runs into the really good 1 seed and clearly loses. That's what I hope Louisville or Baylor will be. I don't think they make the championship. I think it's a very clear possibility that they could win their region and get stomped on by Auburn, Tennessee, maybe not Baylor, but Louisville. And again, make sure you shop around for those. I like the 25-1 for Louisville a lot. I think that, you know, the ACC is probably going to get a little bit of a bad rap this year because of how it's looked the last few seasons, the expansion this year, all that good stuff. But no, I think good price, actually better price over at FanDuel, 18-1 for Baylor. Always make sure you shop 33-1 for Louisville. So
To
give me that.
make the Final Four? To make the Final Four.
33-1, 18-1. And
33-1.
if you want to go shorter, if you want to go lazy, I think it's Auburn and I think it's Duke making the final right now.
1.6 for Duke, one plus 160. So 1.6 to 1 for Duke.
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it.
They should make the Final Four. I think Auburn might be a little bit more likely to misstep. We've seen the big rim protector guy genotype go down multiple times. You can scheme around Janai Broom. I don't know if you can scheme around Cooper Flag.
No, probably not. He is an amazing ball player. Reminds me of
like at every single point. Like you just can't, like, you can deny a big, but can you really deny Flag? Can you really keep, like, Janai Broom can't bring the ball down the floor.
You know what's interesting is UConn that UConn lost to Villanova, and great stuff. Those are great prices. And UConn's loss to Villanova might give them some value. I remember last year after a couple losses, I took them at 10-1 to win it all, and they ended up doing it. I put a decent size bet on it. Gave it.
I just third year in a row. I don't know. It just at some level.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. They didn't have their best player yesterday, though. You know, right. And great live bet, by the way, on Villanova. Thank you. But UConn's lucky. UConn in the rankings has dropped significantly, especially from traveling. And yes, they are not as good as they were last year, at least not now. But when McNeely comes back, you know, I think this is going to be a really good team again. It's going to be probably, I think it's a high ankle sprain, wasn't it? I think it's going to be probably another 2 weeks. So don't bet on them now. Let them lose a few. Georgetown's a lot better than they were. They might lose at Georgetown next week. Everyone's gunning for him, right? So all the way up till when he comes back, you're probably going to get and let's just say Final Four. You know, right now, UConn is being forgotten. They're 5-1 to make the Final Four. You know, they're like the 10th ranked team to make the Final Four, so they're already dropping. I'm just going to say that, Coach. I'm sorry, man. I'm not saying they're going to win it right now, but there's could be some value in them moving. So that's
I just like, you know, personally. You look at how that team is playing. You look at how like a Baylor's playing, like a Louisville's playing, and you're going to take a 5-1 on UConn. Like, and you're buying the reputation. And I don't know that you're buying the basketball. I'd much rather go buy the basketball with teams like Baylor, with teams like Louisville, with teams like even UNC, who are playing good ball. and maybe not getting good prices. So that's kind of like the last word I'll have on that one. But
I'm
we'll
not
see.
taking them at 5-1 either, though. I'm going to wait
Yeah,
until it's like 10 or 15 or something to
right.
one,
And
and
then
I
maybe
think
then you
that's the
start
time.
talking.
Yeah, then we'll talk. And and I just, it wouldn't shock me if they go far in the tournament, even if they have a bad regular season, just based upon great coaching. But what else is great is Justin Perri. Justin, wonderful job as always, my friend. Where can our listeners and viewers get your great information and plays?
Yeah, of course. So you can follow me over at Justin Perri. My name you see right there on the screen, and the number 8 is my number on Twitter now. I basically post everything I do there. I do a pick of the day every single day with shot quality bets. We are 174 and 134 on those. So you can sign up for those by email. You can join our Discord. You can just look for them on my Twitter. Those are pretty fun. We do one a day. And then Shot Quality Live Betcast is my show. I do that 3 times a week. That's going to be Tuesday and Wednesday nights, 7:45, and then Saturday afternoons at 2:45 p.m. all times Eastern. Join us for like 45 minutes of just madness, all live betting, all powered by Shot Quality. Me and my 2 co-hosts. All we do is just sit there and we fire on bets that SQ says has value. We had a really nice night last night. I went 7-3. My co-host went 6-3. My other co-host went 3-1. So we have a good time. We're not perfect. We had a reverse sweep this week too. So, but we're very transparent. We do it the right way. We have fun doing it, and it's all powered by some of the best data in basketball. So thank you for giving me a chance to come here and talk about it. We got some good games coming this weekend, and hopefully we can lock down some wins. Have been doing pretty well on these Saturdays. There's always value if you know where to look, especially if you use Shot Quality Bets.
Make sure you check out Justin and Shot Quality Bets.